Hello, this is LD Marie, and welcome to Let Them See Your Mind. So, obviously, I'm not on the couch today. I am in my car, and today is my driving test. And so I thought it would be just a cool experience because I know in the last video we were talking about how driving is here in the UK. So I thought it would be a wonderful idea to kind of take you on my journey in doing my driving test and also share my experience driving over here in the United Kingdom. So I am super nervous because the margin of error is so slim. Like there's only like from the testing center is like a 39% passing rate. So it's a little intimidating. So today is just peace and happy and love, and then I'll tell you at the end of the video that if I pass or not. So we're gonna revert back to the couch, and I'll tell you all about my experience driving in the UK. So I am outside of the testing center, and I'm just kind of waiting until I go in, honestly, because I'm supposed to go in at least 10 minutes before. So I am going to go in the next 2 minutes just to sit there and see how things go. And so just pray for me, guys. Hope it pass. Hey guys, welcome back. So we are on the couch. Well, I didn't move the couch today, but you get my drift. So I just got back from my driving test. And so I just wanted to give you just a little bit of an experience of driving in the UK. So, like I said previously, I've been here for 1 year, and immediately with my job, you have to transport and you have to drive. Like, essentially, you have to drive. And so, with that being said, my first time driving was literally when I was doing a test drive with the person that I was buying my car from. Shout out to Sadie. Sadie is my car. She is a Lexus. I think this is the only time that I can actually afford a Lexus, um, because they're one of the brands that are more common over here, but they're still considered luxury. So it was, I would say, about, well, I was using US dollars, but when I bought it in pounds, it was a 3,500. It was used '06 Lexus, and so right now, if I would have bought this car today, it would have been like close to maybe 3,600 or something like that in US dollars, because y'all just don't know, the British pound has crashed and it doesn't do well with transmitting money over when you have bills in America. But anywho, so I bought Sadie my car over a year ago, and that's when I started driving. And so getting used to driving in the United Kingdom is very hard because you're driving on the right side. Yeah, I guess the right side, you would say, because the slow lane is the left lane and the fast lane is the right lane. But you always have to pretty much stay in the left lane. There's not really much of zooming and everything else. So I'm a driver. I've been driving since I was 16. I'm from Texas. And so the roads here are very narrow and very small, and they're just enough for the cars. And that's basically it. So when driving here, I did hit a lot of curbs in the beginning because I was just not used to the width of the car because I'm used to having space. And also just doing other things in regards to the driving. So I did hit a lot of curbs. I was so close to cars because essentially you kind of just don't know. You're not used to this type of environment. Even after a year of driving, I don't think necessarily you are used to driving even after a year if you haven't been doing it for a very, very long time. And so it was very difficult to kind of transition from left driving to right hand driving because essentially another thing is the passenger side over here is the driver's side and the passenger side is the driver's side. So There was a lot of getting used to in regards to like transitioning from one side to another. And there were plenty of times where I walked to the other side and I'm like, damn it, it's the passenger side. And so a lot of things that you have to get used to is speed. Like they're very anal about speed. Regardless, I mean, I would say any country is about anal with speed, but it's really, really important for UK drivers to drive under, not at, but under. Um, and it was a thing to kind of get over because in Texas, it's like the speed limit is a suggestion. Now, don't tell the police that, but the speed limit was a suggestion. I rarely had speeding tickets. I think the only time that I really did have speeding tickets back in the States was when I was getting used to a new area, and that's about it. But I think that's with any type of thing that you kind of go into a new area and you don't know where the cops are sitting, or you just don't know the area and you don't know the speed limits. But really, with the rules and expectations that they have, they know like if there are certain markers, um, you have to stay within those speed limits, and they're always posting speed limits like within I say about every 10 to 15 feet. Like there's always a sign, so you always know what the speed limit is. And also you have to get notice to the narrow roads, the very, very narrow roads. And that was just, I'm looking at like, they call them lorries. I call them 18 wheelers. I'm looking at these 18 wheelers. I'm like, how are you driving on these roads? Like, you don't have the space, but they do. I mean, they do have motorways or highways here. And it's once you get used to it, it kind of flows and you kind of do it, but you still pick up your habits. You still have your habits that you pick up every now and again, and so you have to kind of adapt to your environment in a sense. So me adapting to their speed limits, also their narrow roads and their signage. Yeah, their signage is very confusing because of course you're in a different country. Just because you're in a different country and they still speak English doesn't necessarily mean that the roadsides are still the same. And yeah, it was that type of transition, and I would say it was just kind of adjusting to those atmospheres to where like, okay, well, let's do this. So, in getting with me being over here for extended period of time, I am eligible to have my license, my American license, be my international license, and I could drive over for 1 year on that license. And so that's where it comes into today, where I had to take my driving lesson. And so, well, not driving lesson, driving test. I took a driving lesson, but that's there. But I took my driving test today. And literally, I'm close to the deadline of taking my test because there was a lot of hurdles and battles just trying to figure out, okay, well, I have to, like, there was one rule that I saw that I had to wait until I had to be over here for 160, 180 days or 85 days before I can get, like, my provisional. There you go. Provisional license, and then take the theory and then take the driving test. But come to find out, I could have easily got the whole provisional license a little bit earlier because my visa. But that's a different thing. I'm gonna put a pen into that. And so with the whole experience of taking that taking having my license, I could drive. So I can do my job, everything else. And so probably about July, that's when I okay, so I've been here for 6 months. Let me no, I think July, June. So I've been here for 6 months now. I can process my license so I can go transition to a full UK license. When I come to find out, of course, like I said before, I could have done this a lot earlier, but information that's out there. So if you are an American and you are driving over here, if you have a visa that lasts 2 years or 3 years and you're driving, you can apply for your license early and just submit your biometrics and doing that. But lesson learned. So I got my license. I took my theory back in June, I took my theory test twice, and I used um, some materials. I use an app. That's what I use. I use an app. I used an app to prep me for my theory. I failed my first test by 2 points, and it was devastating because it was like the margin of error is so slim here. It's not even funny. As far as like, of course, you can have a ding here, ding there on your driving test. Because I know on my American driving test, I do remember that I got like a 71, um, but I passed. So but the margin for error is like if you do one mess up or if you do like two, if you miss like two questions, then it's over, like you have to retake it. So I missed the one test, and then I took another test again like a week later, and I passed with fine colors. Only missed like one question, I think one or two questions. um and so with the taking the theory, it's like the written test in America. So you have to know your signs, you have to know like your areas, what the lines mean. There are a whole lot of different things. And mind you, the last time I took something in relation to driving was 16 years old. I'm almost 30. So relearning road rules and getting into the highway code and getting that type of thing and just learning those different things. Got my theory. Now it's time to take my driving test, which that's where we lead to today. I did take one driving lesson just to kind of figure out where are my weak spots, which I found out my weak spot during the driving lesson was roundabouts. And also checking mirrors and doing that type of thing. So, and that's what I primarily focused on. Like I thought I was doing well as far as moving off everything else, and doing those types of things very very significantly very well. So I did do those, and it led to the day of my actual test. Took the day off. Um, did a little driving prior to, kind of drove around a little bit, kind of just made it to where I could be familiar with the road and knowing what to do and how to do it, and just being comfortable with myself. Came in with a smile on my face, was very good, trying to make sure that just be comfortable with the driving instructor, and just making it just more of a enjoyable experience. So during the driving test, um, pulled off well, everything was going well, and then when I was going down a hill, my I was steering, and I didn't realize that the steering was going towards a curve, and so literally he touched the wheel to kind of get me to move over from hitting the curve. Automatically, when an instructor does that, you already knew. 10 minutes into the test, I already failed. He touched the wheel, I failed. So, yeah. And that was one of my majors. And then another one during the test where I did well. I pulled over to the left, got into a little parking space, did it well. And then he told me to move off. And so I was essentially trying to move off. He told me to stop because he believed that I was going to hit a car. So that was another one. That was another fail. And so essentially, instead of it being like, oh, 10 points off here, 20 points off here, whatever the case may be, like those types of things that they look after for, those are the ones that literally like you automatically fail. And of course, I had a couple of minors, but more minors were like for clearance or for steering, or I think for one for pull off, but nothing in relation to when I took my mock test of my minors. Of that's where it was. I think one other thing that he mentioned was that I was too close to cars and driving in like different areas and stuff, and we need to make sure that there is a door width away from not hitting those cars. So that was one thing that was mentioned in my mock test. It happened during my test. I thought I was being more cautious in regards to that. So yeah, I ended up failing, but that's okay. So now, unfortunately, the testing zone that I went to, they don't have a test until March. I found a testing center that will do one in October. So, but it's just be in a different area. And we'll see how that goes, but we'll just be mindful of the results that I had on this test and be able to just do my best on the next test within the next few weeks. So that's basically how that goes. Unfortunately, that means after October 5th, I can't do any driving whatsoever. I'll just be at the house chilling, which of course it sucks, but hey, it is what it is. So at least I will still have insurance up until I think the 26th. And if I have insurance up until the 26th, I take my test on the 21st. So I could do a, what is it, a renewal on my current insurance by the time I pass my actual test, which that's great. So I don't have to worry about insurance. I don't have to worry about rebuying anything or anything like that. So I'm very lucky about that. So, I mean, it sucks that I failed, but I think more or less like it was just nerves and like making sure that I'm doing, and I wasn't like during the test, he was trying kind of talking to me. And so like that was more of a distraction, but I'm not going to like blame him for it, but just more or less like honestly, I thought I had control and I wasn't, and I didn't have control, and that's basically how that works out. And sometimes it does work out like that because I do drive like that to where like I believe that I have enough room and actually I don't. So it sucks, but we are going to continue on. But that's usually how like a test kind of goes here in the UK, a driving U test, because they're very, very, I want to say anal about driving because they're like you can't go over one Miller speed over because it can affect your driving, which it can. It's just changing that mindset of what you used to do now what you're going to. It's just adapting into their ways, which of course it's I may believe that it's ridiculous, but it is what it is. But I feel like I know that I'm a good driver and I know that things don't turn out the way that you do, and you do have those incidents and you do have those ways that you're driving because everybody after they take their driving test, I mean, hey, they start driving the way they want to, and that's essentially how it is. But I'm glad that I had the experience. Unfortunately, I had to fail the driving test, and now I know next time that I should be able to pass, and I won't have any. I wouldn't have any other things. I think I would just have some minors. So if I would have just if I didn't have those two serious faults, I would have passed. And more or less, I think it's just more of just me not having control of the steering wheel and then thinking I had enough room, but I didn't have enough room. Because usually, if I didn't have enough room, I would just back out and just go instead of just thinking ahead of time or whatever the case may be. So, hey, that's what it is. But that was my driving test. And then also some of my thoughts of driving here in the United Kingdom. I know this is more of a short episode, but I just wanted to follow you, just take you on the journey of me doing my driving test. And hopefully, in the next few weeks, I may follow up with this video and say, hey, I passed. Well, no, I am going to follow up with this video saying I passed. It won't be completed until I pass. How about that? This is your girl, LD Marie, and we are out.